non-profit trade association, and our remit is to educate people on how to use an open protocol to run building management systems. I'm joined today by Paul Folkes and Sue Redman. Guys, would you like to tell me a bit about yourselves?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Paul Folkes. I'm the K&X Business Manager from Taburn, UK. I'm also the Vice Chair of the K&X Association. And I've been involved in K&X as an installer for more than 20 years.
And I'm Sue, hi. I'm an independent marketing consultant, and some of my clients include K&X integrators. So I've been working with them over the last few years to look at end users' needs with regards to home automation and building automation.
Lovely, thanks very much. So this afternoon's seminar is all about rhythmic spaces and how to make your space, whether it's residential or commercial, resound to sound, really, and what that can do for the building. To make things simple, we've split it into 3 sections. Firstly, why it's important. And for this section, Sue, you were going to tell us something about why it's important to have good quality sound.
So beyond the kind of basic components that we've seen in every building for the last 30 years, so things like TVs, AV is often seen as a luxury and independent of building automation systems. In reality, a high-quality, integrated and intuitive AV system brings many benefits in both homes and commercial buildings. So why is it important? Music listening is one of the most popular pastimes and has been forever. It enhances life's experiences, it creates memories, it's a companion to people's everyday lives. Whether we consume music in solitude or in a crowd, it can enhance any situation. There's actually proven health benefits from listening to music and the release of neurochemicals in the brain. Low frequency noise, which is quite common now, so things like road noise, the hum from your refrigerator, can actually spike cortisol in the brain that induces stress. So it's quite common for people to use noise-cancelling headphones and nature sounds and things to combat this. 30 to 40 years ago, music was a one-dimensional experience. Now it's much more often combined, so music is combined with visual aspects. So it might be video, like music videos to kind of immerse people in the experience, or even abstract visuals such as landscapes or fireplaces to kind of enhance well-being. During the COVID lockdown, there was an 87% increase in music consumption in people's homes. This kind of changed the landscape for the inclusion of AV in home control systems. People have realised more than ever that music's got the power to enhance the situation. It can boost a positive mood, it can lift a negative mood or relieve stress or anxiety. Music bonds families, it creates closeness, both of which are desirable outcomes if you are automating a home or a building. Also, with the increase in working from home, audio is much more widely used to aid concentration. That goes back to the low frequency noise, like I was saying earlier, which can have a negative impact on concentration. The same principles are applied in commercial buildings, where AV is often used to enhance presentations, making for more clearer and more impactful communication. In retail and hospitality settings, audio and visual experiences can influence people's behaviour. It can enhance their mood and it create a more positive experience. Traditionally, music enjoyment was refined to a certain zone in the home. So that might have been the living room, for instance. But advances in automation technology now mean that high-quality audio can be enjoyed from anywhere in the home, kind of throughout the whole building, and even zones so that occupants in each room can listen to different types of music, all streamed from the same system. Audio technology seems to have gone full circle in the last 50 years. Traditionally, it was quite focused on the enjoyment of music and the experience of listening to it, and the performance of the audio. as technology has advanced and smart systems have become popular, we've kind of lost that, and it went back. So things like Alexa and Google speakers, the quality's been compromised to a certain extent, and that's made way for convenience. Now we seem to have gone full circle, and it's gone back to the quality and the performance, and being able to build that intuitively into a building.
Thanks, Sue. Paul, did you have some comments to make on that section?
Well, yeah, definitely, because that listening experience is, as you say, has changed. It's changed. It's gone from that, having a vinyl room where you sit down and you listen to your music, as you say, to music across an entire space, and that changing throughout that space as well. And that's where where what I'll be alluding to is where building automation sits in. So we're seeing being able to link all those elements together and bring that sound and the light and the spaces and make them work together.
Yeah, making it much more intuitive.
Yeah.
We've got some photos from KNX members here, KNX UK members, which illustrate the desire for audio in different rooms and different environments. So these are, for instance, our commercial environments where audio and visual has been added into a restaurant to kind of enhance the dining experience and make it more immersive. There's also some photos from residential projects where high quality integrated speakers have been concealed into the ceiling, going back to what I was saying earlier, so that high quality music can be listened to any area in the house or in the building.
And with the speakers as well, you've also got the wireless option as well now. So you're not talking about having to wire a sound system throughout a house. With the building automation, you can connect that all in together. There's live audio guys just on the KNX stand, and they produce a wireless speaker, so it enables you to bring all of that sound again and integrate it into the entire building. I think the days of piped music around buildings, it's long gone. It's not that at all. It's not a case of just having random sound.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So our next section, having had a little discussion about why it's important, it's identifying users' needs. Now this isn't always straightforward, and they're quite wide-ranging, aren't they, Paul? Yeah,
because you need to know what that space is going to be used for and who it's going to be used by. So when we're talking about the space, we're talking about a multiple use building maybe, as well as not only a home or a cinema room. You're not talking about just a single room. So you really need to identify what the user needs and what that space is going to be used for. And that has to be done at design stage. It's not something that can be. It's not something that's going to be added in as a retrofit, as an afterthought. That's the word I was looking for. So it definitely needs to be thought of at the design stage, and then beyond sound and music as well. If you're thinking at the design stage, you need to be thinking about your lighting and how that affects the entire building. So looking at from the building automation side of stuff. You're looking at, about ease of use and installation. Sorry. So once you've identified the user needs, you're going to then identify how that user is going to interact with that space. So how are they going to interact with that sound? Is it going to be by Alexa or Google, or is it going to be by an iPad, or is it going to be by a wall controller? Are those wall controllers and those interfaces, Are they going to control the lighting and the heating as well? Because that all becomes part of that dynamic space that you're talking about. It's beyond just music control. You're not talking about volume, treble, and bass. You're talking about creating atmospheres and atmospheric scenes. And then within a scene, now that's something. A word that we use a lot in building automation is to create that scene. Classically, it will be lighting and heating scene, coloured lighting. But now with integrating in the whole AV element, then we need to think about that as well as the lighting, heating, the shading, the time of day, who's going to be using it and where they're going to be using it. To do all of that, you need to be thinking about building automation. You need to be thinking about putting in a single core protocol that can activate and bring together, can integrate and bring together all of these different elements, not multiple protocols, not multiple disparate systems that just aren't going to talk to each other. So again, it's coming back to thinking about this at the design stage. It's not talking about putting in AV on top of your lighting system. The whole thing works together. So creating, this is something specific here, multiple access levels for spaces and users. The importance of this is that, again, it's creating that space or that area. So having multiple access is how we access our media content and who accesses the media content. So by being able to identify who is going to be using the content, so a parental control, the parents will have more access. This becomes part of supervisory control. Users within the space don't necessarily or won't necessarily need to have access to every single element within there, but it needs to be controlled. And again, this comes back to that word of integration right from day one. Planning and integration. This is the absolute key. We are way, way beyond the idea of putting this in at a later date.
Yeah, I guess the way that we consume audio and visual has changed, hasn't it? Because before,
Absolutely.
you know, we were just talking about music. Now that includes things like YouTube. So are we talking about that when we're talking building control now?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to bring in, you have to think of all of these elements to say it's not AV, it's not audio visual. In that classic sense of just a cinema room, it's, as you say, it's that media content. It's every single element of what you're bringing it in, and those supervisory levels of control enable you to set those spaces and define those spaces. Yeah. Either they might be singular spaces, but they might also be someone moving through a building and changing how that access works.
Yeah, it brings
but this
a whole
is all
set of challenges.
part of those that key element of integration and control. And it's how you, one of the sort of key things of creating those spaces, I'm just going to refer to my notes, is whether you're talking about a vibrant to an ambient room, what say like a spa needs in their area, what they need with a changing music, changing light levels, all of these can be brought together. But that's going to be completely different from what a restaurant needs. But it doesn't mean that it needs to be a different system. It can still be the same system. Why change your protocols? Why change your control protocols? Especially if you're talking across multiple buildings, you want to ease your facility management. This is really, really core as well. So having that core protocol is important. And choice and quality, the area of audio-visual, sound quality, the element of choice is absolutely massive. The one thing is certain, though, is that the 80s is definitely the best era for music. That's without any shadow of a doubt. But how are you going to actually listen to that music? Is it going to be streaming? Is it going to be via vinyl? Is it going to be via cassette? How is that going to be broadcast around or put out into the room? And that level of choice, and also the speed of change within the audio-visual market, is just rapid. Whether you want a drop-down screen or whether you want a projector, whether you want 4K, 8K. What was it? Only 5 years ago we were talking about a 4K TV is going to cost you about £4,000 or £5,000. Now you can get them in Currys for 300 quid. And so that change and updating of equipment needs to be integrated, needs to be thought of at that design point. How easy is it going to be to upgrade and change your system? That's absolutely key, and you're only going to get that if you're talking about true integration.
When we're talking about quality, the essence of AV systems in buildings has changed now, hasn't it? You know, we're not just talking about speakers. They quite often we're having products that have got amplifiers and other things to enhance the music and enhance the quality and performance of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that all needs to be integrated and considered at design level as well.
It's designed, yeah, having an area where you can put your rack, put your audio visual equipment, but bringing that in again to your lighting systems and extracting those control elements out of the, out of the audio visual system, or bringing them in. So, activating a specific scene will activate a certain music or a certain set of tracks. Yeah.
And then making them simple for every user of the building to navigate. So I guess when it comes to different types of control, wall controls, screens, touch screens, you need to take in the consideration of every user in the building.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking yesterday about Homes for Life, and we're talking about access to everyone, able-bodied and disabled as well. And that's really important. There's no point having a highly complicated system that only a certain set of people can understand.
Yeah. Voice control, I guess, is a key one.
And voice control as well. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Just one more point there, Paul. You were telling me about a case study the other day about how to resolve family squabbles over Wi-Fi access. Do you remember that case study?
It was, yeah, so it was setting up, it comes back to that supervisory control, that supervisory element. So being able to define your areas and define the times who has access to them. And that can be done. But again, it's part of that integration. It's not part of something that's going to be added in later. You could do it, but you're not going to get that utter level of control, that extreme level of control that you need to want to do. So that's all part of our media content or media consumption. Certainly, yeah.
So in addition to sensor and zone control, you can control by device.
Device, absolutely, yes. Yeah, yes.
So
absolutely.
The kids' iPads are different from what the parents' iPads can connect. I think that's what you were telling me.
And as long as they don't steal the iPads, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about design and aesthetics, and Paul's going to tell you about the open protocol that can link all these things together. It's not a system per se, but it is a language that is used by hundreds of manufacturers across the world, and thousands of installers. Paul, what can you tell us about KNX, the open protocol?
Benefits of KNX as an open protocol. I've referred to integration, I've referred to having that open protocol and how important that is. Having an open protocol with 500 manufacturers and 8,000 products, that gives you the freedom of choice, a breadth of functionality, and also the ability to adapt over time, update and adapt. The reason you want to update might be because of a change in technical specifications, which we were talking about before, but it also might just be because you want to change the actual aesthetic of your design, or you can have if you're a developer doing multiple installs, you can have a core design, but then you can change your front ends quite easily. Whatever your switch is, even if it's just a simple case of changing the color. So it's simple as that. It also, by having more than 500 manufacturers, we've all experienced, and we're still experiencing, just sort of generally across the construction industry and across the technical industries, the problem with chipset shortages. That supply chain robustness is something that's absolutely key. But by sort of coming onto the open protocol, into the KNX world, is that you've always got someone else that can sit in, that can take that place, that can remove that product. You're not locking yourself in and tying yourself into those proprietary brands where if they can't supply, you've run out of options. And if you've run out of options, then you're passing that lack of options and lack of choice over onto your clients and your customers as well. And that's not something that you want to be doing. As you said when we started, KNX isn't a product or a system. It's a protocol, it's a control protocol with, say, 500 plus manufacturers and 8,000 plus products. And it integrates into other systems as well. So we have gateways or translators that will enable you to talk into the various AV manufacturers and AV systems, as well as the different lighting protocols, which is sort of more my side of stuff, which is where you're talking about whether it be DMX or DALI, whatever it happens to be. But it's the same principle of integrating into those different systems and protocols by using gateways. And that, long term, that makes the building more sustainable. So, looking at system design, having the open protocol with the multiple manufacturers means that you can change the look, feel, and functionality of living in the working space. Whatever your customer, your client needs, whether it's they want hidden speakers or whether they want projection TVs or whatever it happens to be, the walls are not cluttered with this. It brings it down to single items and single areas that still are interchangeable because of the flexibility that you give back to your clients. We were talking earlier about the centralized visualizations. So bringing all of that information together in one place. That's an absolute key, and it's also it's an enabling factor for the customers. And technical upgrades as well. Backwards compatibility is built into the protocol. You're always going to be able to access the system and the products and the protocols that you need. I think the key thing, as I've always remembered from an installer background, is that the moment you say no to your customer, to your client, that means that customer, that client is talking to someone else. You've lost them, and they're going to put all that money into another installer. So by using the open protocols, always allows you to say yes to your customer.
Okay, that's lovely, thank you. So, any questions from anybody?
Anyone?
We have had a question by email, actually,
Oh,
Tracy.
lovely.
Which is
Okay.
lovely. So we've been asked whether there are any limitations to controlling with KNX, the KNX control system. Paul, what do you think? As far as I'm aware, there aren't any limitations with an AV system controlled with KNX. Are there?
No, I've never come across them. I said it comes back to that point of being able to say yes all the time.
Yeah.
You've always got the gateways, you've always got the translators, you've always got the ability to network into the major AV manufacturers, but also the other, those certain systems, whether it be BMS or a plant controller or something like that. So you've always got those access points that you can do, and you can always change those access points if the customer has a different, it changes their choice from I don't know, Sonos to Bose or whatever it happens to be. That's never an issue.
I think the thing is that people may not always be aware that actually a control system that you can see is often being controlled by KNX as the backbone.
Yeah.
But because it's sometimes invisible, you don't necessarily know. But even systems that are being controlled by Control 4, for instance, is one that comes up a lot. It's actually being controlled by a KNX backbone.
It's the KNX backbone. It's that core. Right from the start, we were talking about infrastructure and core protocols, and that's where you want to start. If you get that right, then that gives you the opportunity to put whatever operating front end you want to go on. And again, coming back to that point, from an integrator, you want to give yourself as much flexibility as possible because that gives your customer as much flexibility as possible.
Yeah, and the future proofing as well.
Future proofing as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. I've had another question actually. From both your perspectives, from a marketing and humanistic perspective, and also from a more engineering background, can you tell us what your thoughts are on why you need to integrate sound with other systems like your lighting and your heating? Why is that beneficial?
It's part of the all-over kind of sensory experience of a building. The sound, being able to control rooms in zones and adapt them to different circumstances and different people in the rooms is really key, and that takes in every sense. So it's how you feel, what you can hear, what you can see. So it's really important that those things all tied into one.
Which again is wonderful for well-being, which of course is a big thing these days.
Exactly.
Yeah, health and well-being has been becoming more and more to the forefront. We can see it here at Future Build, where these are elements about your environment, not the environment, but your specific environment. And that is, as Sue said, it's not just sound anymore. It is heat, it's light, it's temperature, it's how that changes throughout the day. Buildings are not... They're not a defined space. We have light coming into each of the rooms. that will affect the temperature, that will affect the, the lux levels throughout the day, the color temperature of your light changes throughout the day. These are not static spaces, they are dynamic spaces. And if you want to control that element and you want to make the space the most comfortable space for what you want it to achieve, sound plays a part of that as well.
That's great. And so from an engineering perspective, how does that impact things like energy usage and of course the big word at the moment, sustainability?
Energy usage is going to be almost like an offset of, if you can control both the heating and lighting in an area and the solar gain, then you're going to control the energy usage. That's going to be a natural outcome of that. Because you're going to create an environment that is more specific to your needs. You're not going to be overheating or overcooling. So you are creating an environment that is specifically tailored to the user's needs without an excess use of energy. So just by definition, you are going to be energy managing that energy. And then sustainability. Well, you don't want to be ripping out your system in 3 or 4 years' time. That you want to be installing a system and an infrastructure that can be there for 20 or 30 years. And say, going back to that future-proofing and the backward compatibility of KNX, it's compatible all the way back to the original installs from 33 years ago. They are still accessible. They are still completely workable now without any hardware changes. That's amazing.
Thank you. So you look like you wanted to add something.
I was just going to say that when it comes to AV, that's really critical because the advances in audio and visual and media in general are so fast, and things have changed so much in the last 30 to 50 years. As I said before, about how we listen to music, the types of media that we consume. So being able to update your system and it be sustainable is really critical, particularly in the AV space.
It's lovely. Thank you for your insights, guys. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining us. If you need any CPD points, come and find us on the stand. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.